The Joker is always described as being crazy, a mad, insane lunatic. But what mental illness, if any, does he actually have? Well, in this video, me, armchair psychiatrist Mr. Oaks, is going to try to answer that question. Diagnosing a fictional character is of course never easy, especially not a character like the Joker, who's been depicted by so many different creators across multiple forms of media, across multiple decades spanning almost 100 years. There isn't just one Joker, there are endless ones, and none of them are exactly the same. There is a basic idea of the Joker though, and that's what I'm going to be basing my theories around. The archetypical concept of the Joker, not Arthur Fleck specifically or the Heath Ledger version, just a plain old basic clown prince of crime. So, first off, do I think the Joker even has a mental illness? Because some people would argue that he doesn't. Some people would say he's just an evil piece of shit. While I do agree that he is indeed an evil piece of shit, I do actually believe that the Joker suffers from a mental illness. In fact, it is because of this mental illness that he is an evil piece of shit. Without it, he probably would have been a normal guy. So what is this mental illness, you ask? Why, it's antisocial personality disorder. Specifically, antisocial personality disorder with psychopathic traits. Now, what is antisocial personality disorder, or ASPD? It's one of the 10 personality disorders included in the DSM-5, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition. In a nutshell, a person with ASPD is described as someone unable to tell right from wrong. That is the main gist of it. Not all people with this disorder are bad, of course, but many of them do have a penchant for falling into a life of crime. People with this disorder often disregard the law and societal rules. They act in ways that are not accepted by society. They commonly don't feel remorse for their actions and are unable to feel empathy for other people. They are also known for lying, almost compulsively lying, and manipulating people. They use people to get what they want without any regard for that person's feelings or safety. People with ASPD are usually also very impulsive and can often act very suddenly without thinking, disregarding both their own and others' safety. They are also very aggressive and often commit acts of violence. Now, obviously a lot of this, if not all, fits with the Joker. He clearly doesn't feel empathy for other people, disregards the law entirely, feels no remorse, and acts in a violent way. Lying and manipulation is also textbook Joker, his manipulation of Harley Quinn being the most notable example. Joker feeds her fake backstories and tells her that he loves her just to get her to do whatever it is he wants, and then he casually discards her without a second's thought when she's no longer of use. Nobody means anything to Joker, they are just his playthings, which is how people with ASPD often view their fellow humans. The Joker is pretty impulsive too and will react suddenly and in an unpredictable way. You can never quite know what the Joker will do next, which is common with ASPD patients. I don't know if I'd say the Joker is all that aggressive though. He doesn't commonly go into fits of rage. He is after all usually in a very merry mood. The Joker doesn't fit every symptom of ASPD. Like for instance, substance abuse, another classic ASPD trait. People with this disorder often succumb to drug and alcohol abuse, which is not really something the Joker is known for. But for the most part, he seems to inhibit the important ASPD traits. Now earlier I said ASPD with psychopathic traits. So what is psychopathy? It is not a mental illness, it is merely a personality trait, one that can be combined with any or no mental disorders. It is actually very similar to ASPD and the two are often confused. In fact, people with ASPD are usually mistaken for psychopaths, as the term psychopath is far more well known and used in everyday life and popular culture. Psychopathy share most of the symptoms of ASPD, but there is one specific symptom exclusive to psychopathy that may be included in this diagnosis. Psychopaths have a very high immunity to stress and anxiety. In other words, they are pretty much fearless. This can naturally make them especially dangerous and prone to partake in unsafe behavior. That is another classic Joker trait. He is usually depicted as constantly disregarding the safety of his own life. He doesn't seem to care at all if he lives or dies. Could that be because he's a psychopath? Well, I think so. Psychopaths, and to a lesser extent people with ASPD, also have a very grandiose sense of self. They view themselves as superior to others, basically suffering from main character syndrome. That too is Joker to a T. He views his battle with Batman as the main event of the world, and everyone else simply as spectators. It's his show, and he's the main player, well, him and Batman. And just look at the guy, the way he dresses and carries himself. That is clearly one giant diva, fully absorbed with himself. One who wants everyone to look at him. Of course, now we're kinda crossing over into narcissistic territories, and while the Joker definitely have narcissistic traits, I don't think he suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. People with that disorder crave admiration and desperately want to prove their self-perceived worth. These are things I feel the Joker does not do. He doesn't want anyone to admire him. In fact, he seems to relish when people fear him. Narcissistic personality disorder also doesn't make people prone to violence and crime. Now, if we have to diagnose the Joker with a mental illness, it is my firm belief that he suffers from antisocial personality disorder with psychopathic traits. Now, how does one gain this disorder? Why did the Joker get it? Well, in real life, it appears to be a combination of genetics as well as suffering abuse during childhood. This of course contradicts the classic Killing Joke origin, where the Joker goes insane after having one bad day far into adulthood. That's not how you become a psychopath. But the Killing Joke is not a very realistic take on mental illness anyway. If anything, after suffering that bad day, the Joker might have gained post-traumatic stress disorder or depressive disorder. He most certainly would not become a homicidal maniac. Oh well, comics never depict mental illnesses in a realistic fashion anyway, nor do they necessarily have to. I can't recall ever seeing the Joker described as suffering from ASPD in a comic or any other media. We've seen him called a psychopath countless times though. However, that pretty much goes for every so-called insane villain in fiction. It is incorrectly used as a blanket term to describe any evil and crazy character. Disregarding the Killing Joke flashbacks, which may or may not be true anyway, the Joker's origins are shrouded in mystery, so who's to say he didn't suffer an abusive childhood? It's very possible that he did, which caused him to develop ASPD. So there is my armchair diagnosis of the Batman's arch-nemesis, the Joker. If you feel a different diagnosis fits the Clown Prince of Crime better, let me know down in the comments. And as always, see you in the asylum another time.